This is a flow bench. Now what is a flow bench, you ask? A flow bench is a tool that is used to measure the amount of airflow through a cylinder head. Why is that important? Well, first off, it lets us be able to compare two cylinder heads or any number of cylinder heads that we decide to flow that might be for the same application, where we can compare at the different valve lifts that we choose to take a measurement at what amount of airflow is passing through that head and ultimately what kind of power potential that cylinder head truly has. Not only that, we can learn things about the cylinder head based on a few different factors, like how it sounds, because if it's a nice smooth sounding cylinder head, we know that our airflow through that head is pretty good. It's not getting turbulent, it's not doing a bunch of weird things, and we know that it will be nice and stable for carrying fuel to the cylinder. We also can check the velocity. The velocity is one of the most important things about an engine regarding how and where it makes power, because without velocity it won't run worth a crap. So we need to make sure that we've got at least like a bare minimum basement level of velocity. This is where a giant head on a small engine does not work. But we also want to make sure that we're not getting our velocity too high where we're maxing out a cylinder head and it's just choking off the engine. That'd be like a big displacement engine with a really small head. The bench, however, is not actually measuring airflow. It's measuring pressure differentials, and from the pressure differentials, we're calculating the airflow. Here's a schematic of this specific bench. So we've got our cylinder head set up on the bench, and it's flowing air down into our pressure box. Our pressure box has this valve right here that what's not shown is that depending on which way it's flipped, whether it's intake or exhaust, it vents to atmosphere. So on the intake side, it's going to be sealed through this tube. So it's going to be making a vacuum in the box. And that will be trying to lift this fluid up, while on the bottom side, it's going to go to that switch and be vented to atmosphere. So as we pull the vacuum in, we're showing it on our manometer to tell us what level of vacuum we are pulling in this box. And that's important for being able to make our calculation. Now the incline manometer is just taking a pressure difference from below and above this orifice plate. When the motors turn on, they're just running constantly. They really don't care how much airflow is actually moving through the system. So we've got this flow control bypass valve here. It's basically just a big leak. So the motors are pulling vacuum in this whole system, or creating pressure if we're running it the other way, if we're running exhaust. And it has to pull through the orifice plate, and that's how we're setting our pressure down here in our pressure box. Well, by the time we get all that set, there ends up being a pressure differential because of this orifice plate. There's several different orifice plates as far as the flow range that we're going to work with, and that gives us different numbers that we calculate off based on what this pressure differential ends up being. Because a small opening is going to make different readings than a large opening at different flow levels. And because of that, we can then calculate it off of a flow calculation sheet. And using a conversion sheet like this, we can check our incline manometer, find the number that matches up, and then find the corresponding CFM based on that pressure differential. This being our incline manometer, where we can measure it. This particular bench has a digital manometer as far as our pressure box pressure, and there's also another one over here on the side that we can actually hook tubes up to and use with a pedal tube, and that's what we can stick inside of the port and measure our port velocity with. Now, how the math works out to come up with these calculations for those pressure differentials, I don't know, and I really don't care. All I care is that we're measuring accurately, because the flow bench is a tool. It is not an end-all be-all. So as long as the bench is accurate, what the actual numbers are don't matter, especially when we're working on porting a cylinder head and all we're doing is looking for either an airflow improvement, a velocity improvement, or just a quality of the air improvement by having a smoother sound while it's flowing. And you just don't have to worry about doing these airflow calculations on every single time, because if we are flowing it and we're at 1.5 at 300 lift on a certain head and we port it and we come back and we're at 1.7 at 300 lift on that same head, we've made an improvement in airflow. We don't have to actually go do the calculation to know that we made an improvement, because we're farther up on our incline manometer with everything else being the same. We have an accurate comparison. We know we made the cylinder head better. And that's one thing that I can't stress enough about this. A flow bench is a tool, much like a dyno is a tool. You know, how you use it and what you're doing with it has everything to do with its accuracy and whether or not it's going to actually help you with engine building. Nobody races flow benches. Just because you can make a cylinder head that has a huge number or have a cylinder head that makes a big number doesn't mean that's going to translate to a big number on the dyno, because every engine build is slightly different, and a flow bench is just another tool to help you figure out how to make better or more power, and it's not a be-all end-all. We can have the same gains on two different cylinder heads, but because the two engines are different, they're going to be a little bit different. Now, when we're talking about factory-style cylinder heads, especially stuff from pre-2000, it's pretty easy correlation that, you know, making the head flow more will translate into more power, provided something didn't get screwed up along the way that messes with the stability of the air in the port, or making it too big where the velocity falls out and just makes the engine kind of a dog at that point, because a giant port is not the answer for everything. Actually, it's not the answer for most things. But then when you're talking even older cylinder heads than that, like, you know, original small block Chevys, you know, anything from the 60s or 70s or earlier kind of a thing, in almost every case, those heads are so poorly designed right off the bat as far as the port shape themselves. I will throw out, with the exception of a small block Mopar, those heads are actually pretty darn good to begin with. However, they still have a ton of improvement that you can get out of them. I mean, something like 50, 60 CFM of improvement out of them, especially with a big valve kind of a thing. But the shape is really nice out of the bat, versus most other heads have a terrible shape to begin with, and a lot of porting is just about fixing the shape. And fixing the shape makes the quality of the air better, it sounds smoother, it flows more. It's kind of a win across the board with cylinder heads like that. On the other side of things, you have much newer engines that have had all of the factory R&D put into the design of the port. And as an example, the Honda K-Series, you can very easily do harm to that port versus making it better if you get in there and try to port something. I've seen it time and time again where somebody goes in, they'll spend hours screwing around trying to polish up this port and make it a little bit better, and even if they did make it better, they made it better by such a small margin that they've essentially wasted their time. Versus just knowing someone who works with those engines and has done testing on valve jobs, you can gain 5-6 times the amount of airflow out of one of those heads with a good valve job on it versus the porting. However, at the same time, a bad valve job on one of those heads will absolutely wreck the airflow through that cylinder head. And that's where, you know, a flow bench becomes very important on something like that, because you can't just grab a seat cutter, put it on a K-Series head, and it'll be just fine like you can on an older V8 head, where you're just really not going to care as much. And that's because the velocity through a K-Series head, it's flowing big air through small valves. Everything becomes hyper important at that point, where that's just not the case on an older V8 with a valve that's plenty big versus the amount of air that's going through it is not that great as a comparison. Now, as we dive into these cylinder head porting videos that I'm planning on putting out, that's why I got this flow bench to begin with, we're going to be talking about a lot of things that involve percentages. You know, we're going to talk about the theoretical max airflow for a valve versus what air actually flows around that valve. We're going to be talking about percentages of valve size versus bore. We're going to be talking about percentages of cross-sectional area versus the amount of air that could theoretically go through it versus what's actually going through it. And all these percentages are just calculations of efficiency. We're trying to compare what is theoretically possible versus what it's actually doing versus what we started with. And the closer to theoretical we get, typically that's going to be a pretty cut and dried, it's better. Provided that we didn't cause some type of different problem along the way. Now, we could have a cylinder head that, you know, could be kind of weak early on in the valve lift, and then all of a sudden it spikes up big time and flow up top. Well, by looking at that curve, much like looking at a dyno curve, we can tell, you know, comparing it to a dyno curve, it'd be like an engine with a super leggy turbo. Like it doesn't really get going, and all of a sudden it's there. Well, that's undesirable in an engine, and it's also undesirable in the cylinder head, because obviously that big change is telling us that the air is doing something different at that higher valve lift than it was at the low valve lift, and is therefore an unstable port. And that should be something that when we're flowing it on the bench, we'll be able to hear it with our ears, that is a problem that exists. And we'll get into that kind of stuff and a whole lot more in these porting videos. This just wanted to be the introductory video talking about the bench itself. Once we get a few cylinder heads in here and be able to start playing around with them, we'll get into a lot more nitty gritty. And what I really want to show you guys is how to pick up a grinder, hold a grinder, and be able to do the porting yourself at home, where maybe you don't have a flow bench, but you'll be able to do all of the good things without going so far to get yourself in trouble and ruin your cylinder head. So like, subscribe, share, and stay tuned for that stuff coming in the future.